All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the Attack the Rack YouTube channel. This is the Attack the Rack podcast with myself, Curt, and Big Mo. Big Mo, it's been quite a while since we've done the Attack the Rack podcast. The Attack the Rack podcast being kind of the staple program of the channel. Well, first of all, we kind of rebooted the channel on Monday, July 1 here. It'd been probably about 6 months since we posted anything on the channel. It had been since last October, so it's been about 9 months since you and I did our podcast. For everyone out there, kind of a little bit of a state of the company address here. Hey, we did kind of take a step back, tried to reevaluate everything that was going on with the channel, tried to reach out to some other people, get some other people involved. And then, quite frankly, Ryan, we just got busy.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, the winter time's busy for me. Obviously, teaching, coaching. Um, you got busy with some things, so it's good. It's just good to be back, chit chat a little bit, and get things
Yeah.
rolling again.
Yeah, and some may say, hey, July is not maybe the best time to relaunch a sports media platform. Summer's a little bit slow for sports, Ryan. Pretty much Major League Baseball is about all that's now going on. But the NBA over the last few years, since introducing the Summer League, um, boy, they sure like to extend the playoffs as long as they can. Playoffs going into late June, which is, then there's only a week or two, and then you got the draft, and then it's like another week, and then you got the free agency, and then it's like another week or two, and then you got the summer league. And I mean, and then it's pretty much only really August and September, and then mid-October, the season starts up again with preseason starting even earlier than that.
Yeah, hey, there's obviously other things going on, Kurt. I don't know if those are our forte of sports, right? I think there's some tennis stuff going on right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
Wimbledon.
is that Wimbledon? Yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit of soccer, Euro games, maybe or
Euros,
something like that going.
Euros
So
and the Copa.
obviously not our maybe not our cup of tea,
Right.
um, but we'll find something to talk about, and hopefully, couple fans out there will enjoy our show.
Yeah, and the Olympics, Ryan. Later this month, the Olympics start. So in the Summer
Well,
Olympics, I
yeah,
mean, there's always some good storylines with track and swimming, and then obviously you've got the USA men's basketball team, the USA women's basketball team. Speaking of that, um, you know, one of the hot topics this summer has been Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark not on the Olympic roster team. Ryan, what are your thoughts on that?
Whew, I would call it a not a great decision. I think it'd be fun to watch her play with the elite players of the WNBA against other national teams out there. I think that'd be fun just to see how she kind of fits in, or how her game would translate in that form. Um, truthfully, in honesty, I think something happens here in the next. I don't know when the exactly start date is, but I wouldn't be surprised to see her as like a late addition. Someone has to drop out. She's kind of the next one they call upon.
Yeah.
So I would probably keep that in the back of the things that might happen to get her to tune in. Let's be honest. She's obviously just helped the landscape of the WNBA, and we talked about it on the show the other day. Just the All Star voting numbers, and how they almost they went for. The leading vote getter last year was like 100,000. Uh, Asia Wilson,
Yeah.
and you know I think they're Caitlin Clark and herself are both in that like 700,000 range.
Yeah.
So just the immensity that Caitlin Clark has brought her a fan base with her. I don't want wouldn't call it maybe just her fan base, but a fan base. Um, you got to think they find a way to get her on the team still. So
Yeah, and she is like one of the like either the first alternate or second alternate or so yeah, there's a good chance. And Ryan did mention when earlier this week on the show. So kind of to go back to kind of the state of the company address, we are doing every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7 p.m. Big Mo and myself and Trent are doing a kind of a daily lineup show, anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending on what is the latest hot topics that day in sports. Also, Monday mornings, 7 a.m., I go live with same kind of thing, half hour show, kind of recapping the weekend. So there's a lot more to come. So um but back to the Caitlin Clark and being left off the Olympic roster, Ryan. I think um, Big Mo. I think obviously from a business standpoint, terrible decision, right? Because just all the USA jersey sales there would have been obviously the ratings for their games would have been significantly higher. Um, but I think none of that matters. I think to be fair, I think she's still got to be one of the, where they have 12 on the roster, one of the 12 best players on the roster. But I feel like she is anyway. So, a lot of people just basically were complaining about how, from a business aspect, it was a terrible decision. From the aspect of, they're continuing to try. They claim they're trying to grow the women's game, grow the women's game, grow the women's game. Obviously, having Caitlin Clark playing the Olympic team would have done just that. But I still do think she's got to be one of the 12 best players.
yeah,
And
I
I do
don't think
think
there's
that she
any
is. So
yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that she needed to earn it. Now, whether we can all agree to disagree whether she's in the top 12 right now. Um, I guess that if that's solely what they based it on, then uh then they chose correctly.
yeah,
I would probably think that she's got to be one of the top 12 players in the WNBA right now. And you don't want it to be a business decision, but I do think like 5, 10 years from now, if she doesn't end up becoming an alternate on the team, it'll be one of those conversations where we're going back like, how did Isaiah Thomas get left off the dream team roster?
well, we know why.
Oh, we do. So it'll be one of those conversations that will be talked about for years.
Yeah.
Why exactly did Caitlin Clark get left off the Olympic team? And
Right.
nobody will know the truth until it comes out in
Yeah.
a documentary.
Yeah. True. Um, you look back too at the team you're referencing, the 92 Dream Team, the first team where NBA players played on the Olympic team. Now they didn't go, obviously they didn't go the top 12 because Isaiah certainly would have been on the team, but they also did allow that last roster spot to go to an amateur, a college player who certainly wasn't one of the 12 best players, and that was Christian Laettner, who definitely deserved that spot. If that spot was intended for a college player, he had just won back-to-back National Player of the Year. So certainly he earned that spot. But we'll see. Like you said, there's still a chance that she'll end up being on the team, and it'd be great to see.
Yeah, not to it was part of that roster or part of that year's college group was Shaquille O'Neal as well, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just think about that they didn't. I mean, obviously Christian Laettner had an extraordinary college career.
yeah.
Turned out to be a suitable NBA type player. Obviously, nowhere near the dominant force that Shaq was, but
Well, no, I think everyone knew Shaq. I mean, Shaq was the number one pick. everyone knew Shaq was a better player. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
based
yeah.
on the fact that
Well,
he
you
didn't
just you
win.
just wonder, again, why choose Leighton just because he was Player of the Year, or
Yeah, probably, and just had won back-to-back national championships as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't
It'd
not
be
deserve.
interesting to see the conversation the Olympic Committee had to decide between
Yeah,
a Leitner, a Shaq, and then
yeah.
even obviously we have a little bit. I'd love to a little bit more in depth of a really who pulled the strings.
Yeah, and Shaq was actually that was after Shaq's junior year. Now he did come out after his junior year, so he was done with college
Okay,
playing athletics. But I think wasn't or Alonzo Mourning in that draft class too?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, but speaking of kind of that dream team, there were two players on that team, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, who I think you would agree really, really took the NBA in the 80s to a completely new stratosphere. I think prior to them coming to the league, even like NBA Finals games were around tape delay, for example. And those guys really, really, brought the league to probably where it is today, even. A lot of people say it was maybe even more popular in the 80s and the 90s than it is now. And back to the WNBA, I feel like there's this opportunity very similar with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Certainly rivals in college, right? 2 years ago, Angel Reese's LSU Tigers beat Caitlin Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes in the national championship game. And then last year in the Elite Eight, Caitlin Clark got revenge and knocked out Angel Reese's LSU Tigers. So a rivalry was brewing, and now they're coming into the WNBA, and I wonder if we'll see kind of a similar situation with Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, like we saw with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson in the 80s, early
Yeah,
80s.
yeah. I think it's a little. I think it's. I think those two guys were probably the top five type players. Um,
As rookies.
almost when they probably came in as rookies. Obviously, they were older, uh, with the rules being a little different. I think it'll be interesting to see.
No, they're the same age.
They were.
Yeah, I mean, Magic came out after what was it, only his sophomore year or junior year, but so he was 2021.
Okay.
Larry Bird was definitely after a senior, so he's 22. So
Yeah.
same, you know.
Um,
I think Angel Reese is 21 and Caitlin Clark is 22, so about the same.
okay. I would say there are probably, I don't know if there, I mean, I do think Caitlin Clark is in the top 10 players um, in the WNBA right now. I don't, Angel Reese, yeah, she's had a great streak with the double doubles.
Yeah, her
Uh,
her stat line is pretty remarkable. But I'll let you finish. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying more
No,
just because of the
yeah,
rivalry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm not
Bird
agree
and
with that. I
Magic
agree
had
with
that
that.
rivalry.
I think both of those ladies have brought just a different type of fan base that to the WNBA, which has helped, and hopefully it'll continue to evolve. And I think the league as itself is trying to figure out how to manage those type of rivalries and maybe the distractions that come along with it, and
Yeah,
just the newfound fans.
yeah.
It's interesting to watch.
No, no, for sure. And let me be clear. Yeah, I think Caitlin Clark is on that path or is already a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson type level as a rookie as they were in the NBA. I
Yeah.
don't think Angel Reese is there. I know her stats are phenomenal with the double doubles, but I think if you watch her play, there's definitely some skill sets that and some
Yeah.
athleticism probably that are lacking. I think she's just
Different type of
she's like a junkyard dog type player. She
yeah.
just plays super hard, and that's how she's able to be successful. But as far as like a talented player, skilled player, I would say, yeah, she's probably not like a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson yet. But again, what I was saying, just the rivalry, the competition. Now, I think there is a difference. I think, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, maybe not right away, they ended up becoming best friends. I don't see Angel Reese wanting to be best friends with Caitlin Clark. She's definitely had some tweets, said definitely made some comments in press conferences. Certainly, when Angel when her teammate just bodied Caitlin Clark out of nowhere, she was celebrating that act on the sideline. So certainly, probably not that same level of respect that Magic and Bird had, but still, I think potentially there's. I mean, the WNBA will never be as popular as the NBA, but I'm just saying, as far as taking it to another level, could quite possibly be similar to what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson did for the
Sure.
NBA.
Sure.
Speaking of the NBA, it was quite a big week this week with the free agency period opening up. Wow, Jason Tatum, 5 years, $314 million, Big Mo. How in the heck are the Celtics affording that on top of paying Jaylen Brown $304 million? His contract was for 5 years. I think he signed that last year. He was the highest paid player in the NBA. Certainly, Jason Tatum leapfrogged him. And Derek White they signed for 4 or 5 years for 125 something million dollars. Um, where's this money coming from? There's got to be a salary cap in the NBA with some sort of luxury tax, I would think. Are you aware of this?
Oh, I'm sure there. No, definitely is. I think they're in that prime. Oops, they're in that prime moment of like, hey, we have a chance to win back to back or multiple championships over the next 5 years, and they're probably saying, hey, we'll pay whatever price that is now, because they're going to reap the benefit of having one of the better teams and having that ability to repeat or win multiple. And I think they're all in, and exactly how you should be in sports, right? Here's your opportunity. You better take it when you have it because you don't know when it's going to come back around. I mean, we've seen that with the Pistons, right? I mean, we rode the wave there with that last group, and then boom, now we've been kind of stuck in this like, holy cow, like we can't find the right
Years.
coach, we can't find the right players, the draft picks don't work out. So I think when you're good in that at this level of sports, you got to take advantage of it. You got to spend the money, knowing that you're gonna reap they're gonna reap the benefit 10 times whatever they spend on these guys, to build that team. Because if they win multiple, that's gonna cure all the woes.
Yeah. For sure. And then other notable happenings during this recently open free agency period. Chris Paul signs with the Spurs, um, teaming up now with Victor Wembanyama. Speaking of the last time that we did the podcast, I'm not saying necessarily the last episode, but that was the Victor Wembanyama story was certainly a hot topic on our
Yeah.
on the program.
How much do you just like saying Wembanyama?
Yeah, I can say it now, Wembanyama. Um, hey, do you remember what our conversations were and what we had predicted for Wembanyama?
No, no clue.
You don't remember? Well, do
No.
you remember what you were thinking at that time? Like what player
I mean,
I
probably
remember what
probably
I said about him.
probably rookie of the year, but
Okay.
probably average team. Which
Yeah.
I don't know if I think they made the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was dead wrong.
Oh.
I said he would never be an all-star.
Oh.
I said he would never be a starter. I said he would be always be good enough to be on a roster. So I said he'd always kind of be in the top 8 on a team, but he'd kind of be a career journeyman. So I said he'd have a solid career, just never a starter, never an all-star. A solid 12 year career is what I predicted. Boy, was I wrong, because that dude is phenomenal. and
He's
he's a
not
lot of
bad.
fun to watch, and he's
He's
got a
not
ton of
bad.
potential. He had a great rookie season. Yes, like you mentioned, rookie of the year. Like you said, they did make the playoffs, and now they got Chris Paul. How do you think? What types of? How far forward do you think this will move the Spurs?
I don't think it moves them very far. I think it just gives them um, a veteran to kind of lean upon a little bit. I don't think it really helps them. I got to imagine Chris Paul is on his, not his last legs, but his, he's. I'm not sure he's going to help you win a championship at that level yet. Um, it was interesting. At one of the shows I've watched recently, kind of just brought up the Chris Paul situation and how we kind of on the outside we see that he's my thought was he is a kind of a veteran leader. He'll teach those guys some of the tricks to be prepared and how to prepare and all that good stuff. And um, I forget whose podcast I was listening to, but they talked about how some people don't maybe appreciate Chris Paul in the locker room as much as maybe the casual fan thinks he has an effect on it. Maybe he's not
Yeah,
as liked as much because he's kind of hard nosed and
I,
he's
yeah.
I don't know where I can't remember where I heard that from, but
I feel
I
like
don't think it pushes them forward at all. I think they're still
okay,
a mid level playoff team, probably out in the first round.
okay. So they're still they're still
They're
gonna be
still they're still probably a player or a star away from
yeah.
trying to make a run at it.
Okay. And then Klay Thompson did not re-sign with the Warriors. He moved on to Dallas. Dallas obviously made it to the NBA Finals last year. Now adds sharpshooter Klay Thomas, who's he's probably on the tail end of his career. What do you think that he does for the Mavericks, especially on the offensive end?
Well, I think he allows them. I mean, he's a space guy, so you can't double Kyrie or Luca probably, right? Um, so he's probably a guy who's going to get 10 to 12 threes a game for the Mavs. And it's probably where he is at in his career. Still probably a knockdown type of shooter. Um, I think the change will be good for him. It'll be interesting. I think Dallas got better. So, and I think Luka's probably one of the top 5 players in the league right now. So
Yeah.
I think their ability to get back to the finals, um, they took a big step. Like they said, "Hey, we're going to get better," and they got better. So I think a good move for them because I think that's exactly what they're missing. They're missing another scorer or shooter, especially in the finals.
And then I guess one other kind of big move. Paul George did not re-sign with the Clippers. They did re-sign Harden, but Chris Paul is moving on. He now goes to the Eastern Conference and he has joined the Philadelphia 76ers. If he's healthy, if Joel Embiid is healthy, um, do they have a legitimate shot of knocking off the Celtics in the East?
I think so. I think there's a lot of talk recently, like who's Boston, New York, and Philly, right? And I think New York is that Jalen Brunson had a amazing playoffs
Yeah.
and an awesome a year. I don't know if he can duplicate um, that type of campaign again. They get Julius Randle back probably with an injury. He was out quite a while. Um, I still think I like the Paul George thing. I think it's a situation where he's not the number one guy. Um, he's kind of been the talk recently, the last couple of free agency periods. He's kind of, hey, this team bringing in Paul George just really raised their level of play. I think in those situations, he was kind of the 1 or 2 guy. I think going to Philly, he can be a 3.
Okay.
He doesn't have to be dependent on as much. Now it's just going to depend on can Embiid and himself, Paul George, stay healthy. Um, but I think Philly, if they limit that a little bit, load management, um, they can be healthy for the playoffs. And I think they give Boston a run. I don't think Boston has someone to match up with Embiid.
No.
Um, and I think so. If he's healthy, I think that gives Philly an edge at that point.
All right. And then, we're here in West Michigan. Our team, local team, Detroit Pistons, they did re-sign Cade Cunningham. As you mentioned, it's been a long struggle since the Detroit Pistons were champions back in the 03-04 season. You mentioned not being able to find a coach. I'm curious to know what you think. What do you think does make a good coach in the NBA? How can an NBA coach be successful? And how is that different from kind of like a high school coach or a college coach?
Um, in all honesty, I think just good players. I think good players. I think the right players um, make all the difference at every level, right? Coaching is a lot about the management part of it, the ability to help players buy into certain roles. You um, Cade Cunningham, a phenomenal player. I'm not sure they've really surrounded him with um, the players that he needs maybe to be help the team be successful. You know, like their draft pick they got is probably a phenomenal athlete and maybe a rim attacker
Yeah.
driver.
Uh-huh.
But I mean they got to find some guys that can make shots so they can spread the floor a little more to open up some of those uh, driving lanes for Cade and a couple other guys. So I think it all. I think the NBA, just like every team, is like you got to have all the right pieces. And a coach is a part of that, but I think the bigger portion is probably you have the best players, you have a little bit of luck, and that's how things turn out well. Look at the NBA, how coaches have, they win, they have such success, and then all of a sudden they leave, go somewhere else, and the success sometimes doesn't follow, sometimes it does. That's based on the one thing that's changing in those situations is the players and the organizations. The coach hasn't changed a whole lot, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, I think like your first comment you made, you need good players, and I know I've heard you say a million times, more often than not, the team with the best players is going to be the best team, or the team with the best players is going to win. And I think that can be said for the high school level, the collegiate level, and the NBA level. But I think at the NBA level, I don't think the NBA or the NBA head coaches um, how he wants to operate with the X's and O's or his offensive philosophy or his defensive philosophy. I think that matters significantly less than what it does at the college and the high school level. I think at the NBA level, you have to, in order to be successful, you have to manage all these personalities, all these egos, these multi-millionaires, and your job more is like a manager, more so than a coach and a teacher. The high school level, the collegiate level, your teaching, your philosophy is so important, and more so in the NBA, it's more of managing the players and trying to get them to become one cohesive unit, which you do need to do at all levels. But there's way less teaching and the actual like what you think of traditional coaching.
Yeah, I don't. That's probably. Probably hard for us to exactly maybe say that. Obviously, we have limited experience at that level, or no experience at that level. Um, but if you just watch, like, just think, like, even look at Boston. Obviously they had two really great players in Tatum and Brown, and the role players beyond those two were phenomenal all season long, and especially in the playoffs. And that's you know, I think so. I think it does come down to you have the best team, right? Sometimes that doesn't mean you have the best player, maybe even not the best two players, but you have the best cohesion group. And I think Boston has that right now. They've got guys that have just bought into that team, and they've got a surreal toughness about them. Um, and that probably gives them the edge a lot of nights just to be able to have that they're the better group of guys. And obviously they have two really good players and a phenomenal coach to boot. So um, Yeah, the Pistons are a long ways from a group like that.
Yeah, 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 they are. Well, hey, tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m., Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever, they take on the, at least record-wise, best team in the league, New York Liberty. They did play them at least once already, and the Liberty certainly got the best of them. They got Brianna Stewart, who's one of the top players in the league as well. Ryan, you gonna watch that game?
I probably will. I will. As Liberty have a couple good players. They got the Sabrina
Oh,
uh,
yeah. You're from,
shooter.
yeah, from
And
Oregon.
yep, yep. Yeah, no, I'll watch it. And I do think Liberty beat it by 20 last time.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
close.
think I watched that game. It was close for a little bit, and um, the Fever ran out of juice and steam a little bit. Um, no, I would hopefully expect a good battle again. Brianna Stewart's a tough matchup. Um, I don't think the Fever have anybody like that on their team that could match up with her. Um, but the Fever are playing better, so I would expect a closer game.
Yeah, I didn't, I really do enjoy watching Caitlin Clark play. I mean, you know this. I love transition basketball, and I think she is so good in transition. I love how she gets the ball and goes head up, always advancing the ball up the floor to an open teammate. Phenomenal passer. Um, she's been rebounding like crazy too. She had 12 rebounds in her last game, or sorry, 12 assists. I think she had 8 rebounds in her last game. I think the game before that, um, 9 or 10 rebounds. So, her scoring's down a little bit. I think she's averaging 16 a game, coming from averaging 30 in college. She has not shot the ball particularly well from the 3-point range. But still, just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I still think we mentioned on our podcast with Trent earlier. I just think she's got to find a way to get better shots. I think in college, she could take her breaks. She could kind of rest up on defensively a little bit, and I think she's got to play a lot harder right now. And so she's trying to figure out how she has to play that hard, but also manage like, hey, I still might need to score 20 to 25. And I think when she figures that out, you'll see even more success out of the Fever.
Yeah. No, I think she does. I think she definitely has to score close to that 25 mark for them to win. Um, so I've learned a lot about the WNBA. I didn't realize there's only 12 teams, and the top 8 teams make the playoffs.
Yep.
And right now, despite being 8-13, the Indiana Fever are only a half a game out of that 8th spot.
Yeah.
So
With Chicago, right? I believe.
yeah, Chicago's got the 8th spot, and
Yeah.
then Indiana's a half a game behind them. So it'd be pretty crazy if they end up making the playoffs.
No, it'd be fun. It would help the league. I mean, people would continue to watch it. So, yeah.
All right, well, hey Ryan, before we get out of here, is there anything else? Anything else on your mind? Attack the Rack, company wise, NBA wise, WNBA wise.
No, Kurt, I think I'm glad to be back. Yeah, we'll have to hit on some other things next week.
Yeah, and football right around the corner. Football is right around the corner. We'll probably be able to start talking about football maybe even as early as our next episode. So the first preseason game is just 3-ish weeks away. So
Oh, wow,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, isn't that crazy?
goes by fast, Kurt. The summer
Yeah,
flies by.
it does. It does. All right, Ryan. Well, we will see you Tuesday on the Attack the Rack Daily lineup show. Again, that is 7 p.m. That comes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's me, Big Mo here, and Trent. And then Monday mornings, uh, I go live at 7 a.m. for a show. And then Saturday mornings, we've got the Attack the Rack podcast with myself and that guy right there, Big Mo. All right, Big Mo, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.